from the Sewing Society, and this week I went on a little adventure to IKEA. I needed to go and have a little look at some of the storage because my little workroom is chock-a-block and overflowing. And while I have done some culling, I still have a lot of things that just don't have anywhere to go. So I thought I would go and see what I can get to put all my bits and pieces in. And while I was there, of course, I had a look around and I came across the most beautiful cushion cover that was on sale for $2. So I thought, oh, I can definitely make something out of this. And at first I thought a tote bag would be really cute, but then I thought, oh no, we can do something a little bit better. And yeah, I came up with this really cute ruffle bag. You only need one cushion and it utilizes the zip, which is like the hard part done. And it's got a little pocket inside. And I put some like lobster clips on the end, so it's really versatile. You could use it just as a clutch, or you could make the strap short and just have like a little wrist strap, which would be cute. And then I've got a long strap as well, so you can, you know, do it crossbody, that kind of thing. And because the fabric is furnishing fabric, it's already quite sturdy, which is great for a bag. All right, I'm going to show you how to make this now. There's also a free pattern for the bag, and I'll leave a link to that in the description below. Okay, let's get started. For this project, you'll need a cushion cover and a copy of the pattern, which I'll leave a link to in the description below. With the bag pattern piece, line it up to the top of the zip. I've got my zip closed and I'm lining up my pattern piece to the end of the closed zip. Then we're going to use the rest of the fabric in the cushion to make the ruffles and the bag strap. There's about 25 centimeters left underneath the bag pattern, which is about 10 inches, and we're going to make 2 strips out of that, so 12.5 centimeters each, or 5 inches. There was just enough fabric left to make a little inside pocket. So we've got our 2 strips that we cut out, and we need to trim away the seam allowances on these pieces. So we'll be left with 4 strips. 3 strips we'll use to make up the ruffle, and the other strip we'll put to one side to make the strap with later on. Here I'm cutting off the overlocking and the stitching from the seam, and then because this was the piece at the bottom of the cushion, I need to cut it in half so that we've got 2 strips. With right sides together, we're going to sew 3 of the strips together on the short ends. I'm using a 1 centimeter seam allowance or 3/8 of an inch. Once you've sewn the strips together, we're going to press the seams open, and then we're going to sew the ends closed so that the ruffle has a nice finish. To do that, we're going to fold the ruffle in half right sides together and sew down each of the short ends. Then we need to turn the ruffle right side out and press it in half all the way down the length of the strip. Then we need to add 2 rows of basting stitch along the open side of the long edge of the strip. We're going to put the ruffle to one side and prepare our bag strap. With the remaining strips that we cut out earlier, I'm going to cut this strip down into 3 smaller strips. I made mine 4 centimeters wide, which is about 1.5 inches. Once we've cut those out, we're going to sew them together like we did the ruffle, joining the short edges together. I'm making a long strap, so I'm using all 3 pieces, but you might only need to use 1 if you want to make a wrist strap, or 2 if you'd like to make an over-the-shoulder bag. Again, press the seam allowances open, and now we're going to fold the raw edges into the center, and then we're going to fold it in half again. After it's been pressed, we need to sew it together. It's starting to get quite chunky now, and I was worried that it wouldn't go through my machine, but it handles it pretty well. Now it's time to prepare the pocket. On one of the pieces, I did a double turnover hem. If you'd like to add a label, now is the perfect time to do that. With right sides together, line up the pieces so that the bottom edges are matching, and then sew around the 3 outer edges, leaving the top open. Trim away the corner fabric and turn her the right side out. Now we've done all the prep work, it's time to put our bag together. Oh, I wanted to show you this tip because I have come to grief a few times. and that is to safety pin your zipper to your main fabric like this, so that you don't accidentally slide it off the end and cry, because it's virtually impossible to get it back on. There are ways to do it, but it's just not worth the heartache. Okay, now we need to turn the bag wrong side out and then trim away that excess seam. I also made some little tabbies to add to my bag for the strap. I made these exactly the same way as I did the main strap. I just made them a little bit skinnier. I'm going to unpick a little bit of that seam before the zip to add the tab into. With my little tab piece folded in half, I'm going to leave sticking out about 2 centimeters, which is about 1 inch. That worked really well, and now all we have to do is trim the excess away. And now we're going to put the other tab in place. And now if you want to, it's safe to take away the safety pin because we've sewn up the other end of the zipper now. Okay, now we're going to sew in the inner pocket. And this is really easy. We just have to attach it to the zipper tape. You might need to trim the seam allowance down a little bit. We want it to fit exactly under so that you don't see any of that fabric and that the top of the pocket sits flush against the zipper tape. You can finish off the little raw edge here if you'd like to, but it's not really necessary. It's going to be hidden by the zipper and won't really be exposed to much wear and tear. Next up is the ruffle. So take your ruffle piece that we put aside a little bit earlier and start gathering. So I've allowed double the amount of fabric to gather, so it's going to be really ruffly, and I found it quite difficult to get it to fit in. So you can make your ruffle a little bit shorter so that it fits in a little bit better, but I do love the end result. It just takes a little bit of patience to get it to gather up. Now we want to pin the ruffle in place. To start off, I lined up the two ends with the seam of the zip. And then I worked my way around. I pinned everything on one side and then I flipped it over and then got out my clips because it was getting too thick for pins and clipped it all in place before I took it to the machine. After I sewed it all together, I wanted to finish off the edges with the overlocker, but the overlocker was not having it. It was too thick. So I just did a zigzag stitch on the sewing machine. It was actually a really great fabric to work with in that it didn't fray much at all during the whole process. So I could have left it, but I wanted to finish it off. Now my favorite part, turning her right side out. And it looks so good. I can't believe how well it's turned out. You just need to take out the basting stitches or the gathering stitches and we're nearly done. All that's left to do is to attach the straps. I'm going to leave mine quite long and tie some knots into the ends of the lobster clips. That way I can adjust it to whatever length I'd like. But you do whatever takes your fancy. I really hope you enjoyed that little tutorial for this cutie little bag. I love the colours in this particular cushion. I think it will go with heaps of different things and brighten up a plain outfit as well. But of course you can use any cushion cover that you might have that you can recycle. Yeah, let me know what you think. Will you make something like this? I love going to IKEA just to see what other things that I can make out of their fabric options, whether it's a cushion cover or sheets or tablecloths. They've got so many different things that you could turn into something else. I hope you enjoyed that little tutorial and please like and subscribe for some more sewing videos like this one. Thanks so much for watching and I'll see you next time.